If you're reading this right now, take a moment, just one breath. Because December 16th isn't just another day on the lunar calendar. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, and it's not for everyone. This is a quiet, cosmic turning point. The kind that only the spiritually attuned sense before the rest of the world catches on. On this day, the moon activates a hidden frequency that doesn't push your life forward. Most people will move through December 16th without noticing a thing. But if you're one of the chosen ones, you'll feel it in your body, your intuition, and your moments of silence. And if you ignore what's shifting now, you might spend years trying to force what could have unfolded effortlessly. Stay with me until the end, because once you grasp this lunar secret, your spiritual journey will never feel confusing again. The Lunar Code Awakening on December 16th. December 16th carries a lunar code unlike anything most people have ever experienced. This code doesn't activate through action, effort, or intention. It activates through awareness. That's the primary reason so many miss it. Astrologically, this moon isn't designed to propel your life forward. It's designed to realign the internal compass that dictates what forward actually means for you. Most lunar events are about manifestation, release, or emotional expression. This one is different. December 16th is all about recalibration. Imagine a compass that's been spinning wildly for years, pulled by false magnets, emotional attachments, survival instincts, and expectations that were never truly yours. Before that compass can point north again, it needs to stop spinning entirely. That pause, that still point between movement and direction, is precisely what this moon creates. For those of you who are sensitive to these shifts, that pause might feel unfamiliar at first. You might notice a strange stillness settling in. Not emptiness, not numbness, but a sense of containment. Your emotions don't spike the way they usually do. Situations that once triggered anxiety or urgency suddenly feel distant. Your thoughts slow down not because you're tired, but because your mind no longer needs to overwork. This isn't stagnation or a loss of motivation. This is your soul gently sinking into its correct trajectory. December 16th marks a moment when the moon aligns not with desire, but with memory. Not human memory or mental recall, but soul memory. This is the memory stored beyond this lifetime. Past lives, unfinished, karmic agreements, vows you made long before you had a name or a face. That's why this day can feel emotionally neutral, yet spiritually weighty at the same time. You might not feel excited or sad, but you might feel a profound settledness, like something ancient has finally fallen into place. This moon doesn't ask you to feel more, it asks you to feel clearer. Clarity in this instance doesn't arrive as answers. It arrives as an absence of confusion. Questions that once circled endlessly in your mind suddenly lose their importance. Old desires feel distant, not because they were wrong, but because they belonged to an earlier version of you. Many spiritually attuned individuals notice subtle but unmistakable signs. During this lunar shift, a sudden loss of interest in goals that once felt urgent, emotional detachment from people or situations that used to control your mood, a quiet inner knowing that something has already changed, even without external evidence. These aren't symptoms of withdrawal, they are signs of integration. This lunar energy doesn't reward effort. It doesn't respond to pushing, manifesting, or ritualizing. It rewards alignment. Trying to do something on December 16th often backfires because the moon isn't rewriting the external world. It's redrawing your internal map. When the map changes, the journey changes automatically. This is the moment where intuition becomes sharper than logic. You might find yourself trusting gut feelings without needing explanations. Your nervous system relaxes not because everything is solved, but because it recognizes safety. Safety doesn't come from control. It comes from knowing You are finally oriented correctly. Your soul realizes something essential. During this moon, it no longer needs to chase timing. For many, the need to figure it out dissolves. The urgency to arrive somewhere disappears. This doesn't mean you stop moving through life. It means life stops pulling you off course. The lunar secret embedded in December 16th is simple, but it changes everything. Your path is no longer something you walk toward. It is something you stand inside. When this realization lands, life stops feeling like resistance. Obstacles don't vanish, but they stop feeling personal. Delays don't disappear, but they stop triggering fear. Silence doesn't feel empty. It feels intentional. This moon marks the end of spiritual spinning. You might not see immediate external changes after December 16th. In fact, the world may look exactly the same, but internally, something critical has locked into place. Your direction is no longer negotiable. Your energy no longer leaks. Your soul no longer debates its own knowing. And once the compass points true north again, every step that follows feels quieter, clearer, and infinitely more precise. Why the chosen ones feel this shift before anyone else. Not everyone is meant to feel December 16th. This moon doesn't broadcast its presence loudly. It doesn't announce itself through chaos, emotion, or dramatic events. That's why most people will pass through this date unaware that anything meaningful occurred. This moon doesn't speak to ambition. It doesn't respond to hunger, desire, or striving. It speaks to integration. And the chosen ones feel it first, because long before this date arrived, you were already preparing for it. The preparation happened through exhaustion, through disappointment, through cycles that forced you to outgrow old ways of responding. You questioned yourself, you released attachments, you learned restraint the hard way. So when December 16th arrives, your system recognizes it immediately. This lunar phase activates what many spiritual traditions call the witness state. The witness state isn't emotional numbness. It isn't detachment from life. It is awareness without entanglement. You still feel, but your feelings no longer pull you off center. You still think, but your thoughts no longer dominate you. You still care, but you no longer abandon yourself in the process. This is why something very specific happens during this shift. You stop reacting. Not because you're suppressing emotion, but because reaction no longer feels necessary. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying decisions. You stop defending boundaries, not because you're angry, but because clarity has replaced insecurity. You stop seeking validation. And this is one of the clearest signs that you are aligned with this moon. Validation loses its grip because your internal authority has stabilized. Instead of reacting, you observe calmly, clearly, without emotional attachment. You notice patterns without feeling pulled into them. You see people's behavior without taking it personally. You recognize dynamics without needing to correct them. This is why conversations may feel different now. You listen more, you speak less, and when you do speak, your words land with more weight. Not because they're louder, but because they're cleaner. You no longer talk to convince, you talk to express truth. And truth doesn't need volume. Others may feel subtly uncomfortable around you during this time. Not because you've changed personalities, not because you're cold or distant. Your presence doesn't ask permission. People who are used to emotional access may sense that access has closed, gently but permanently. This moon marks the end of spiritual performance. No more performing growth for approval. No more announcing healing to be acknowledged. No more explaining boundaries so others feel comfortable with them. You stop trying to look evolved. You simply are. And when that happens, your presence becomes the proof. This is a moment when chosen ones unconsciously reclaim power they previously gave away. Not through confrontation, not through force, but through the withdrawal of unnecessary effort. You reclaim power from people-pleasing, over-explaining emotional labor that was never reciprocated, trying to manage others' perceptions, carrying responsibility that wasn't yours. This reclamation doesn't feel dramatic. It feels natural. You simply stop offering what drains you, and what drains you no longer feels important. You might notice very specific internal changes, a sudden refusal to rush decisions even when others pressure you, peace with uncertainty instead of anxiety, a natural detachment from outcomes you once obsessed over, strong intuition without the fear of being wrong. This isn't apathy, this is destiny, consolidation, the scattered parts of your energy come home. Your nervous system begins operating from stability instead of survival. Your decisions originate from alignment instead of urgency. The universe isn't asking you to leap forward right now. It is asking you to hold your ground. Holding ground doesn't mean stagnation. It means you stop abandoning your position to chase reassurance. And when you hold your ground, something remarkable happens. Reality adjusts around you. People move not because you push them, but because the dynamic has changed. Opportunities rearrange, not because you chase them, but because timing realigns. That's why chosen ones feel this shift before anyone else, because you are no longer being shaped, you are being confirmed. December 16th doesn't awaken you. It verifies that awakening has already occurred. And once this verification settles in, something subtle but permanent happens. You stop wondering if you're on the right path. You know. The soul transformation that locks in after December 16th. After December 16th, many sensitive individuals experience something difficult to explain. Life feels quieter. The internal noise fades. The constant emotional commentary softens. And yet beneath that quiet, there is an unfamiliar certainty. You might find yourself asking, why does everything feel calmer, but also final? The answer is simple, but profound. This moon seals a soul-level decision you already made. Not necessarily with words, not necessarily with conscious awareness. You made it through lived experience, through everything you endured, through everything you outgrew, through every moment where you chose awareness instead of reaction, even when it was hard. December 16th isn't the beginning of that decision. It is the confirmation of it. This is the moment where your higher self quietly takes the steering wheel. Not dramatically, not forcefully, but gently and completely. And once that happens, something unmistakable changes. Before this shift, many chosen ones lived in a constant internal back and forth, one day trusting, the next day questioning, one moment feeling aligned, the next moment second-guessing everything. That oscillation ends here, not because you have all the answers, but because you no longer need them. You stop seeking signs. You stop asking the universe for reassurance. You stop wondering, is this right? You simply know. This knowing isn't emotional. It isn't exciting. It doesn't come with adrenaline or urgency. This is what spiritual mastery actually looks like. Not constant highs, not dramatic awakenings, not an obsession with meaning, but calm command over your inner world. The transformation that locks in after December 16th is subtle. And that's why many people miss it. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't disrupt your life overnight. It doesn't come with external validation. Instead, it changes how you relate to everything. The emotional charge drains out of situations that once controlled you. People who once triggered reactions no longer have access. Patterns that once felt inevitable lose their grip. This shift doesn't feel like gaining something. It feels like losing unnecessary weight. That's why some mistakenly think nothing is happening. They are used to transformation feeling intense, but this transformation feels neutral, grounded, centered, clean. Spiritually, however, something major is locking into place. This is the phase where karmic loops stop repeating, not because you fought them, but because you outgrew them. Emotional triggers lose power because your nervous system no longer recognizes them as threats. Old identities quietly dissolve, without grief, without ceremony. Your timeline stabilizes, no longer splitting into doubt-based alternatives. This isn't about becoming someone new. It is about no longer fragmenting. Before this moon, many chosen ones lived in multiple internal timelines, who they were trying to be, who they feared, becoming who they felt pressured to perform as who they secretly knew they were. After December 16th, those fragments begin to merge. You don't feel expanded, you feel integrated. The moon, on December 16th, doesn't create new desires. It does something far more powerful. It clarifies which desires were never yours to begin with, goals you inherited from survival, dreams you chased for approval, paths you followed because they felt expected. These don't disappear dramatically. They simply stop pulling on you. You may wake up one day feeling lighter, without understanding why. You may notice you care less about outcomes that once consumed you. You may feel less reactive, yet more present in your life. This isn't detachment from reality. This is grounded embodiment. You are no longer living ahead of yourself. You are no longer mentally rehearsing the future. You are no longer emotionally anchored to the past. You are here, fully, quietly, firmly. This is what can be called soul adulthood. In spiritual adolescence, awakening feels intense. You search constantly. You look for meaning outside yourself. In soul adulthood, awakening feels stable. You trust yourself. You move deliberately. You don't rush clarity. And once you enter this phase, there is no returning to spiritual confusion. You may still face challenges. You may still feel emotion. You may still experience uncertainty, but you no longer feel lost. Your inner authority is established. The universe no longer needs to interrupt your life to get your attention. It no longer needs to create chaos for growth. It no longer needs to repeat lessons because you are listening even in silence. After December 16th, life doesn't suddenly become easier, but it becomes simpler. You know where you stand. You know what you will not tolerate. You know what no longer belongs on your path. And that knowing doesn't argue. It doesn't negotiate. It settles. This is the transformation that locks in. Not flashy, not dramatic, but irreversible. And once it settles into your nervous system, your identity, your energy, you don't go back to searching for yourself. You live from yourself. How your spiritual path changes permanently without forcing anything. The biggest mistake chosen ones make after December 16th is trying to use the energy. This moon isn't a tool. It isn't fuel. It isn't a portal you rush through. It is a settling. December 16th doesn't reward effort. It responds to restraint. That may feel counterintuitive, especially for those used to spiritual growth coming through action, intention setting, or emotional intensity. But this lunar phase asks for something far more refined. It asks you to stop interfering, not with life, not with responsibilities, but with alignment. From this point forward, your spiritual path unfolds through non-interference. This doesn't mean passivity. It means precision. You stop interrupting your own timing. You stop adjusting yourself to fit expectations. You stop forcing clarity before it's ready. And something remarkable begins to happen. You stop chasing clarity, and clarity arrives quietly, without struggle, not as answers, but as certainty. You stop proving your worth, and recognition appears naturally. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy no longer negotiates value. You stop forcing timelines and doors open in ways you could not have predicted. Not sooner, not later, but exactly when resonance aligns. This is how the spiritual path changes permanently. It becomes quieter, but more accurate. Instead of dramatic awakenings that leave you exhausted, you experience consistent alignment. Instead of emotional highs, followed by deep crashes, you experience stability. Instead of searching for signs everywhere, you experience flow, a sense that things are moving without resistance. This is when life begins responding faster. Not because you act quicker, not because you push harder, but because your energy sends a clear signal. Before this shift, many sensitive individuals unconsciously broadcast mixed frequencies. Desire mixed with fear, confidence mixed with doubt, trust mixed with urgency. After December 16th, those frequencies consolidate. Your energy becomes coherent. And coherence is magnetic. Your calm becomes magnetic. Not passive calm, but grounded calm. The kind that doesn't seek attention. The kind that doesn't chase outcomes. The kind that holds its position without tension. Your presence becomes directive. You no longer need to explain your boundaries. People sense them. You no longer need to announce decisions. Your energy already made them. You no longer need to convince others. Reality adjusts on its own. Your silence becomes powerful. Not silence born of suppression, but silence born of certainty. You speak when necessary. You move when aligned. You wait without anxiety. This is the point where many fear they are losing momentum. They are refining it. Momentum driven by urgency burns fast and collapses. Momentum driven by alignment sustains itself. Refinement always precedes manifestation. Before something becomes visible, it becomes precise, and precision requires stillness. After December 16th, your spiritual growth no longer feels like climbing. It feels like standing. Standing in yourself, standing in your decisions, standing in your values. You stop overcorrecting. You stop explaining yourself mid-step. You stop abandoning your position to accommodate uncertainty. This is how permanence is created. Your path no longer changes direction based on emotion. It no longer splits based on doubt. It no longer bends under pressure. It responds to resonance. That means certain people naturally drift away without conflict, and other doors open effortlessly, not because you manifested them, but because they were already aligned with the version of you that finally stabilized. This phase is deeply misunderstood because it looks ordinary from the outside. There may be no sudden breakthroughs, no dramatic announcements, no visible transformation. But internally, your foundation has changed. Your nervous system no longer scans for danger. Your intuition no longer fights your mind. Your energy no longer leaks into unnecessary places. You are no longer trying to become aligned. You are aligned. And alignment doesn't hurry. It allows life to come to you in its correct form. This is why forcing anything after December 16th feels uncomfortable. Pushing feels off. Over-planning feels heavy. Explaining feels unnecessary. Your body knows the truth before your mind catches up. The spiritual path now rewards patience. Not waiting, but trustful stillness. You stop asking, "What should I do next?" and start noticing what feels natural to do. You stop chasing momentum and start allowing inevitability. This is how destiny locks in. Not through effort, not through rituals, not through constant intention setting, but through restraint, through clarity, through presence, through standing exactly where you are without needing proof. And once this phase begins, it does not reverse. Your spiritual path has shifted from becoming to being, and being aligned is the most powerful position you will ever hold. Because from here on out, life doesn't need to be pushed. It responds. Chosen one, if you are still here, allow this moment to land, not in your mind, but in your body. December 16th didn't come to shake your world. It came to steady it. It didn't arrive to force answers. It arrived to remove the need for them. What shifted on this day doesn't demand proof. It doesn't announce itself through noise or urgency. It settles quietly, like something ancient returning home. You are no longer walking toward destiny. You are standing inside it. And that is why nothing needs to happen right now for everything to already be different. This calm you feel is not emptiness. It is command. This stillness is not delay. It is precision. You are not pausing because you are unsure. You are pausing because your soul no longer needs to rush. From this moment forward, life will respond differently. Not because you try harder, not because you prove yourself, not because you chase signs or outcomes, but because you finally stopped carrying what was never yours to hold. You released timelines that were built on pressure. You released roles that required constant explanation. You released versions of yourself that survived but were never meant to lead. And in that release, something locked in. You didn't miss the shift. You became the version of yourself that no longer needs confirmation, the one who doesn't negotiate with doubt, the one who doesn't abandon stillness for urgency, the one who trusts what is unfolding even in silence. This is not the end of your journey. It is the moment your journey stops arguing with itself. From here on out, alignment replaces effort. Clarity replaces force. Timing replaces impatience. The universe doesn't rush you now because it no longer needs to correct you. It moves with certainty, and so do you. Carry this calm with you. Protect this alignment. Trust what no longer needs to be chased. Because once you stand where you are meant to be, life doesn't need to be pushed. It simply is.